how I've been able to lose 50 pounds of body fat without counting a single calorie in less than 6 months and without technically doing any cardio, and how we help our clients achieve similar results. So, I'm Coach Ábris, founder of Demi Cycle Protocol, and we help high achievers and corporate executives over the age of 40 and 50 get into their best shape of their life, sustainably get below 15% body fat, and double their energy levels through sleep optimization without having to take sleep drugs or any kind of medication or abusing stimulants. So, how we make this happen and how I have been able to, over the span of 6 months back in 2023, lose 50 pounds of body fat and basically go from a fat powerlifter, so I was strong but really high body fat, around 23 to 25%, right? How I've been able to get down from 217 pounds to 167 pounds, that was March 2024, 9% body fat, and how I've been ever since able to maintain 12 to 15% body fat, how you can stay also lean year round, right? So you don't necessarily have to get like ridiculously shredded, but you can maintain a overall healthy body fat percentage and body composition, right? Without having to do cardio or without having to count your calories or religiously track your macros, right? So you don't want to be the person who is obsessed with calories, who go to a restaurant and looking at the menu, trying to dial them into MyFitnessPal and being socially awkward, right? Saying no to a couple of drinks with business partners, with clients, whatever. So I know that you are probably a highly social person if you're watching this video, especially if you're a high-performing man about the age of 40 and 50. You have to maintain your relationships, your network, right? You gotta go on dates with your wife, you're still keeping the fire alive, right? And all of these are very important things, and sometimes they involve stuff which is not sustainable in a restrictive health routine, right? So if you're following a diet, for example, carnivore, paleo, vegan, and stuff like that, you're completely cutting out every kind of unhealthy foods or items from your routine, from your diet, then you will end up being a little bit detached from society. And I think that's not sustainable. My clients wouldn't prefer to live like this either, so we don't do that. And our principles always put the main focus on sustainability, and this is how I lost my 50 pounds as well. So first of all, let's talk about nutrition, how I've been able to do that without counting a single calorie, right? So first you gotta understand how macronutrients works, what macronutrients are, which one of them are worth tracking, what you can get out of that, and how you can do that without tracking. So my principle is that pretty much the only macro worth tracking is protein. And let me explain why. Because each of the macronutrients, proteins, carbs, and fats, they have different functions, right? You want to utilize them to the maximal functions, right? To your own goals, right? What do you need carbohydrates for? That's a quick source of energy. Your brain needs that. It transforms into glucose, it boosts your brain performance, that's amazing, right? Also, it enhances your muscular performance, right? So when you're in the gym, you have more energy, you get better pumps, and after the gym you can also reload your muscles. Your muscles have storage nutrients called glycogen, which makes them full and round, right? And store the energy. That's where the carbs are going if you are eating majority of your daily carbs before and after your workout or your most active part of the day. What are fats for? Fats are supporting your hormone system, right? If you're of course eating too much of them, they will be also stored as fat, but the same goes for carbs. So if you're overeating them or if you're not using them as a quick source of energy, they will be stored as fat, right? But protein is a little bit different because that's the metabolically most active macronutrient. So that's why I'm saying protein is pretty much the only macro worth tracking in the long term, right? So macro tracking might be useful for you, might give you a sense of safety in the beginning, but later on you will be able to feel that. I measure that, or for example what we do with our clients, that they upload pictures to our training app or they send them directly to me. We're supervising it, and I'm teaching them the methods and how to be able to eye measure your food, so you don't have to use food scales, don't have to track your food. But one macronutrient, as I mentioned before, protein, is definitely worth tracking, and let me explain why. So, protein is the metabolically most active macronutrient. What does that mean? It takes so much more calories for your body, so much more energy for your body to actually digest and absorb the protein into your muscles, organs, joints, and so on. So proteins have multiple different use cases, right? It's not only your muscles, it's your overall health and recovery, right? And what is most important, that it takes way more energy for your body to digest the protein compared to the carbs and fats. And to metabolize the protein, that's a completely higher level of energy consumption for your body. So for example, protein is 4 times more metabolically active compared to carbs and 6 times more compared to fats. So that's pretty solid, I think. So that's why I would say be strict about this only one thing. Eat at least 1 gram of protein for every pound of your body weight. So let's say you're weighing 180 pounds right now, that probably would mean about 180 grams of protein for you on a daily basis. And basically, if you can get that sorted, you will be so satiated, right? You will feel so full that you basically don't really want to crave any other types of macronutrients in large quantities, in quantities so large that it would make you fat or gain even more weight, whatever. So this is why it is very important to track your protein, and then you don't necessarily have to track your calories, because you will be aware of your portion sizes, you will be aware of what you're eating, when and why, okay? And another thing that contributed a lot to my fat loss, besides my by default high protein intake, is that I trained intense. So I made sure that I'm going as close to failure, not to quite much failure, but as close as possible on each of my working sets on my workouts. So I followed a very simple split of lower body, upper body, full body, right? I trained 3 times a week, and this lower upper full split enabled me to train each of my muscle groups twice per week, right? So the high frequency was there, the high intensity was there, and I used just enough volume to be able to preserve my muscle mass and also to get a little bit stronger in the meantime, right? So my goal was to improve my relative strength and to minimize the loss of absolute strength as much as possible. Why and what is relative and absolute strength? So relative strength is your strength compared to your body weight. Absolute strength is overall how much weight you can move. So before that, when I was like extremely fat, at least according to my standards, at 217 pounds, I was bench pressing 330 pounds with a pause, competition form, stuff like that. So not touch and go, but with a proper technique, right? And I've been able to maintain a bench press of 320 pounds at the body weight of 167 pounds. So that means that my relative strength went up greatly, right? But my absolute strength decreased just a little bit. And your goal when you're losing fat is actually to get stronger relatively, or if you're a beginner, you can also increase your absolute strength, right? Because I was a powerlifting athlete before that. Of course, by default, I had higher strength levels than the average, so it was harder for me to actually maintain that when I'm losing 50 pounds. But if you're just starting out, you can actually get stronger also in the absolute means while losing a significant amount of body fat, thinking of anywhere in between like 30 to 80 pounds, right? And you will be doing just fine. And why it is important to increase your strength, why it is important to train with high intensity. Let me move the camera a little bit because the rain started falling in the meantime, you know. I'm in a tropical environment in Paraguay here right now. Okay, looks like we are sheltered right now. So, what I want to say is that yes, you can improve your absolute strength, but your goal is to primarily improve your relative strength. So how strong you are compared to your body weight, how much weight you can move, and why it is important. So the primary importance of improving your strength is that when you get stronger, you get more lean muscle mass, and with more lean muscle mass, you are burning more energy per day, right? So you can eat the same portions of food, you can eat the same amount of food and still lose fat and still burn enough calories to be in a so-called calorie deficit without having to actually track them. And let me move the camera inside a little bit again, because the wind keeps blowing the rain inside, okay? You know, when you're living in a tropical environment, you can never know that. Okay, when this shit will catch you. But anyway, this is why it was important to me to train intensity. This is why it is important for you as well. So you want to go high on intensity, you don't want to do like crazy volume. There's a misconception in the fitness community that you want to train with little weights and for a lot of reps for ridiculous amounts of volume if you want to lose body fat, and yeah, this will burn your fat better, and yeah, all of these misconceptions back from the 70s and 80s bodybuilding communities, it has been debunked many times. And well, I have also proven that you can do 3 sets for shoulders per week and have round shoulders, right? Stuff like that. I haven't done more sets than like 6 to 8 for back, and I grew a wide back, right? Actually, my back looked way better after my cut than before, not just for definition but also for overall muscle mass. So I think that has been debunked many times, both scientifically and also empirically, that you don't need to do a shit ton of volume and high reps, low weights in order to be able to lose fat, right? So you can still train with high intensity. This is how you actually preserve and grow your muscle mass, so you can ultimately burn more calories. Why? Because muscle mass is expensive to maintain for your body. So it takes up a lot of energy just to be with a high amount of muscle mass, right? So you could stay resting, you could basically lay on the couch, do nothing, and still burn more calories than someone with a lower muscle mass than you grinding his life away on the treadmill, right? So that's why resistance training is important. I'm not saying that you have to go to the gym, you can train at home as well. You can train calisthenics as well, so body weight movements, as long as you are providing the intensity for your muscles to maintain or even develop further themselves, right? That would be your goal. So this is how I sorted out my training, but I also did something else which helped me to lose fat without doing cardio, and that was increasing my DMT intake. Wait, am I doing drugs? No, hell no. I'm not talking about that hippie shit and ayahuasca and stuff like that. I'm talking about DMT, daily movement targets. So I increased just that. I started from a very moderate, very sustainable 6,000 to 8,000 steps per day. It might sound a little bit extreme to you. Why? Because the average person today only takes about 4,000 steps per day. I think that's critically low, but with the right habits and systems in place, you can take much more steps. So you can take your calls walking, you can go for like a 10-minute walk after each meal, or if it's complicated for you and you are being glued to your desk, you're working 18 hours a day, you are grinding 24/7, right? Okay, I can completely understand that, because we have a lot of clients who are like busy entrepreneurs, right? Or they are working high-performing jobs which require intense focus at your work. You can't just go on walks and stuff like that. I completely understand that. So that's why one of the best investments that you can make for your daily movement targets, for your DMT, right, is getting a treadmill desk or just basically a standing desk. So whatever that can increase the amount of passive activity that you're doing. And by passive activity, I mean anything that you can do multitasking. Taking steps like going on walks, meanwhile checking the CRM or talking with clients, whatever, that's completely sustainable. But if you happen to have an office job, or you have to be present on site at your company, whatever, then a treadmill desk or a standing desk can help you a lot to, ramp up those step counts by the end of the day. And I started from 6,000 to 8,000 per day, and I think that's sustainable for everyone on this planet with just changing these habits. But how I've been able to take it to the extreme. So let's say you want to go to, you say one day that, Ábris, I don't care about being, under 15% body fat. I want to go to the extremes. I want to get lower. I want to get below 10% body fat. How do I do that? Well, how I've been able to do that by March 2024, is that in the entire January and February, I had this so-called 2 Volks policy, right? In China, they had 2-child policy, I had 2 Volks policy. So that would mean that every single morning, I was waking up at 5. I mean, I wake up at 5 by default, so that's not a big deal to me, but I started my days with walks, right? I went for about a 40-50 minute walk, first thing in the morning, 5 a.m., got a couple thousand steps in, got back, and I went for a second walk in the evening after I finished my work. So that was usually anywhere between like 7 to 9 p.m., right? And I was in Denmark. It was cold as fuck and it was dark in the morning and in the evening, right? Northern hemisphere, right? And I was like, okay, let's figure this out. Anyway, I will go out because I want to increase my step counts. It's important to me. I prioritize my health, and in the meantime I can do a lot of other stuff. I can listen to podcasts, yeah, right? So you go there, you take your daily walks, you can listen to your favorite audiobook, your favorite podcast, you can take calls, right? You can basically multitask, and it is good for your cardiovascular health, this is good for your mental health, it clears out your brain and stimulates creativity. So I noticed that I create much better content, for example, because that's my job, ultimately to train clients and to create valuable content. And I noticed that it goes much better when I'm often going for long walks, right? But if you don't have time for long walks, you can also apply the strategy of, okay, going on just like a 5-10 minute walk after each meal, right? Because then you're kickstarting your digestion, you're boosting your metabolism, and also you are burning more calories overall throughout the day, right? So this was one of the main catalysts of me being able to lose 50 pounds of body fat without having to count calories and stuff like that. And of course, in the meantime, I took good care of myself. So that very little sunlight that we had back in Denmark before I moved here in this tropical environment in Paraguay, South America. So before that, in Denmark, I just utilized that very little 20 to 30 minutes of sunlight we got per day, and we were lucky when we got that. But immediately I went out and I soaked up the sunlight directly. If you can't do that because let's say you're living in Canada or Greenland, which is even more extreme, no worries, man. So what you want to do is take vitamin D. It's very important for fat loss, for driving up your testosterone levels, which ultimately also drives fat loss. So if there would be one supplement I would never abandon, it's either sunlight or vitamin D, right? So it's also important for your cell recovery and for thousands of different like metabolic processes in your body. So I could go on for days, but it's very important. Let's say, did I take any fat burners? No. Did I take any fat loss supplements? No. Did I take any snake oil or whatever? No. Right? So the secret is not in supplements, but in your lifestyle, your habits, your nutrition, and your sleep. So instead of, using diuretics, instead of using thermogenic fat burners, instead of tracking calories even, I was focused on my sleep quality. And this is what we do with our clients as well. So instead of being obsessed with calories, we look at their sleep metrics. So for each of my clients, I buy an Oura ring, I ship it out to their address, and the Oura ring, this kind of little ring, this device that you put on your fingers, starts tracking your sleep metrics based on your heartbeat, based on your respiration, based on many different processes that the sensors can sense meanwhile you're wearing the ring, right? And you see the stats, right? You see how much you have spent in the REM, rapid eye movement, sleep phase, in the deep sleep stage, right? Different sleep stages, how efficient was your sleep, so how many percentage of the time that you have spent in bed was actually asleep, how long it took you for you to fall asleep, right? How many times you have awakened, how long those awakenings were, and so on and so on and so on. Many important sleep metrics, and based on those metrics, I was able to give them feedback and also give myself feedback on a daily basis, right? Because the deeper and more efficient you sleep, the faster you lose fat. Let me explain how that works. So there are 4 main hormones that influence this process that are associated with your sleep, right? The more time you spend in a deep sleep phase, the more testosterone and the more human growth hormones, so HGH, you are producing. And both of them are contributing to fat loss and muscle gain, so the development of lean muscle mass. And beyond that, HGH is also called the fountain of youth, improves your skin quality, contributes to your bone and joint health. So if you're over the age of 40 and your HGH and testosterone levels are naturally dropping, you definitely want to double down on sleep quality, not necessarily how much you sleep, but how well you sleep. And once you have the systems in place for tracking that, you have your ordering, you have your customized sleep routine, completely tailored to your lifestyle, and you organize your habits, both in the daytime and during the nighttime, in a way, and your environmental setup, in a way that it supports you sleeping deep and efficient, it's gonna be easy for you to have high testosterone and high HGH levels. Okay, but there are two more hormones that immensely influence your fat loss and how successful you will be with that. Those are the hunger hormone, ghrelin, and the satiety hormone, leptin. So, the deeper and more efficient you sleep, the less hunger hormone you produce, the less ghrelin you produce, and the more satiety hormone, leptin, you produce. So actually, less food will be enough for you to get more full. What's not to love about that, right? So this is why I'm saying track your sleep, don't track your calories, right? Tracking your calories and being obsessed with that will make you neurotic. Tracking your sleep will establish a peace of mind, and basically you can gamify improving your sleep quality. So I think it was super beneficial for me as well, for my clients as well, and hopefully it will be beneficial for you, whoever you are watching this video, right? And I would say one more thing that helped me immensely were not the little tricks that I applied, that I ate a lot of spicy food because capsaicin enhanced my metabolism, or that I drank black coffee and green tea because it also helped me burn more calories per hour. These are just tricks. They don't influence your fat loss that much. But what really influenced it was not having to think about what to eat, right? Because I had like 3 to 5 go-to recipes in my pocket, right? Very easy, high protein, whole food recipes I could prepare in less than 10 minutes, or maximum 15 minutes, right? And they just contributed to my progress. They made sure I'm never hungry, I always eat high protein, and I'm never going overboard with portion sizes. So during this whole process, I was intermittent fasting, but not because this is the only way to lose fat, but it just fit well with my schedule, right? I was more energetic in the morning, and I could get more deep work done and faster than ever before. So intermittent fasting helped me. But there are many client transformations, successful client transformations, and Demi Cycle Protocol that did not involve intermittent fasting. They were having breakfast and they were just doing fine. So it's not about whether you have breakfast or not. It's knowing what you have for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, or whatever meals that you're having during the day, right? So I had my staples. For example, the ranch tortilla, which was basically like onions, right, in a little bit of olive oil, and then about a pound of lean ground beef. So you know, there's that like 95/5 ground beef, lean, low fat. I use that, or ground rabbit. I eat a lot of rabbit meat, mostly sent by my parents from our homestead in Hungary. So I fucking love rabbit meat too, but beef is fine. Ground chicken is fine. Lean ground turkey is fine. Whatever, just have your preferred protein source. Mix that with onions, olive oil, right? Or you can do that in butter as well. And what I did is I seasoned to taste, wrapped up in tortillas. I call this the ranch tortilla. You know, I just a little bit of low-fat mozzarella on top, or like any kind of low-fat shredded cheese, right? So add some more protein without the high fat content of like full-fat cheese, right? So I always use like light cheese, okay? And what else did I do? Like, I ate a lot of high volume, low energy food, right? So instead of picking a rice as the side to my protein source, I picked potatoes, sweet potatoes, grilled vegetables, right? So I added volume to my plate so I could fill up my stomach, right? Without having to, eat too many calories, right? I haven't been tracking my calories, but I know that, for example, in 1 pound of potatoes, right, you can find the same amount of carbs, for example, than in just 100 grams of dry measured rice. So, would you rather feel full after a big plate of potatoes, or just like a smaller bowl of rice, right? So, you want the food to take up volume, take up space in your stomach, so you won't feel hungry, right? Actually, I felt goddamn full after each of my meals. I had 2 meals a day, and that was amazing. So one of them was either this ranch tortilla or this ground beef with potatoes, sweet potatoes, also some shredded cheese on top, low-fat cheese, of course. One of my other staple meals was, usually I ate that in the evening, that was low-fat Greek yogurt or skyr yogurt, so SKYR. You can mostly buy this in the Northern Hemisphere. It's an Icelandic type of yogurt, but you can buy it in the US, you can buy it in the UK, and in most of the European countries, right? And this is super low fat, extremely high in protein, and very little in calories. So you can eat a kilogram of that a day, so like 2.3 pounds, and still feel guilt-free. So low in calories and extremely high in protein. So what I did, I took like a pound of that, 2 scoops of whey protein, a couple of blueberries or any kind of berries of choice. I prefer blueberries because of the inflammation, anti-inflammatory like effects. Amazing for inflammation reduction, basically. So this is what you want to know about blueberries, but yeah, returning to the recipe itself, any kind of berries will be amazing. Maybe sometimes I drizzled it with half a tablespoon of raw honey for extra taste, or a little bit of raw cacao powder, whatever. So, and I still managed to get lean. Eventually, I even managed to get shredded back in March. So, it was pretty easy because I ate what I liked. I ate high protein. I filled up my stomach. And I just got into a routine where losing fat was a default because I was active every single day. My sleep quality was on point, and it was just natural for my body to go from that really fat, out of balance, mad strong powerlifter I was, into a leaner, athletic, but still mad strong, but much more energetic person I used to be. So this is what I wanted to show my clients last year, that okay, it's very easy to do that. And in the meantime, I also had, some fun foods, some ice cream, some pizza, some whatever. So, burgers. I had my fair share of meals that you might call cheat meal, but for me it wasn't cheat meal, right? Because if you eat a diet so good that you genuinely enjoy that, why would you cheat? So what I did is just I split up my diet. 80% high protein whole foods and 20% fun foods, whatever you want, right? As long as you can adhere to the high protein whole foods 80% of the time, you won't have any problems. And so I wasn't neurotic about my nutrition, neither should you be, neither are my clients, so no problems with having some ice cream and pizza every once in a while. By the way, ice cream is anabolic either way. It helps you grow your muscles, helps you develop a nice physique, rebalance your hormones, so I don't know what would be the problem with that, right? But every once in a while you can enjoy some pastries as well, or some cakes, some cookie dough, whatever you want, right? Because I knew that, for example, if I eat a bar of Snickers before my training session, that will go straight into my muscles because I will be training hard, I will be training this, and I will burn those calories either way. And after the workout, I also loaded up with a high carb meal, and it was completely fine. Because I centered my carb intake around my workout on workout days, and on non-training days, so on rest days, I usually delayed the consumption of majority of my carbs to the evening, right? So I was in fat burning mode for majority of the day, right? because I didn't have any carbs, or just I had little carbs for a quick source of energy, but I was walking a lot, I was active, I spent a lot of time walking and standing, and because of that, I've been able to get to the point where, okay, my body have used all the carbs, and what will it use right now for energy? My fat storages, right? The same will happen to you. So on rest days, I would primarily recommend like delaying carbs until the evening, and you know, when you have eaten a lot of protein throughout the day, no matter how many meals you get that from, or no matter if you have intermittent fasting or not, you ate a lot of protein, you ate high volume, low energy foods, so you still have plenty of space left for extra calories. You just simply can't eat too much carbs in the evening. You can eat Oreo, ice cream, whatever, you still won't exceed your daily ideal portion sizes, right? So, at the end of the day, you can load up with carbs, you can have a great feast and not feel guilty about that. And you know what? The best thing about that is that it drives up your tiredness hormone, your adenosine levels, so after that it gets much easier to fall asleep. And what does sleep do? Of course, help you with hormonally optimizing yourself for fat loss. So as we discussed before, testosterone, growth hormone, ghrelin, leptin. So everything is interconnected at the end of the day, and if you eat strategically, prioritize your sleep quality, prioritize your protein consumption, and you have a high DMT, daily movement targets, and train intense, you have nothing to worry about. You will be easily able to lose tens of pounds of fat over the span of a couple of months. You will become an unrecognizable person. So if you look at the thumbnail of this video, you can see that I used to be, compared to where I am right now, like extremely fat, right? I might have been strong, but I took my previous bulk too far. And I was like, okay, no worries. I will shift my metabolism around. I will burn more energy per hour. I will be a more active person. I will have much more energy than before that. And with these simple habits mentioned in this video, I've been able to do that. And dozens of my clients before you have been able to do that too. So, if this got you motivated and now you have a grasp, a little understanding of how fat loss works and how you can do that without counting calories, without doing intense cardio workouts, right? Although I'm not saying that they don't work, because they do. We will talk about that in another video. But in this fat loss phase, I haven't been doing any kind of intense cardio. So it was just like very simple. Walk a lot of steps per day. Once you achieve 6,000 to 8,000 consistently, you can bump it up to 10, 12, 15. Stack your habits on top of each other, like don't go into the hardest right away. This was my simple principle. And you will be able to do this too. My clients have been able to do this too. And if this got you motivated and you're finally ready to change your life around in 2024, to become unrecognizable and to permanently fix your health problems, then go to the description, click on the link below and book a free call with us, where we will craft up basically an entire game plan and a roadmap for you the next 6 months, and how we would transform your body, how we would help you to get sustainably below 15% body fat, double your natural energy levels without having to count calories, without having to train more than 2 to 3 hours per week, and without taking sleep drugs or medication or abusing stimulants. So, if you are ready to invest in your health, if you're ready to be committed to a simple and sustainable program, then definitely book a call with us. If you're not ready to be committed, if you prefer procrastinating, if you're not believing in your own success, or if you don't believe that these methods could work, even after seeing how it worked for me and dozens of my clients, no problems. What you need to do right now is getting your brain in shape first, because if your mind is there, if you're there with your mindset, then you can easily make these changes happen too. But until then, it's just gonna be a waste of time. So in that case, if you don't have a strong mindset yet, don't book a free call with us. Let's not waste each other's time. But I highly invite you to watch my previous videos where I help you get your brain in shape and level up your mindset to the level where you're finally able to commit to a routine, change your habits, and finally achieve your health goals. And if you generally found this video useful and you enjoyed it, then like, subscribe, share this with your friends, family, colleagues, teammates, employees, and thanks for watching. See you in the next one.